So what I'd like you to do is go ahead, and I just want to hear some of what happened as you were going about sorting these out into those content areas. What were some of the things that happened at the table as you were going through putting these into those different content area categories? What were some of those things?
A lot of cross-content.
Okay. So you were identifying cross-content, okay?
Yeah, we had another category.
All right.
We were like, okay, this could go everywhere.
So another category, can you tell me more about that?
Well, we think, like, for example, engaging in argument from evidence. That could be science, that could be social studies, that could be math. So we made a cross-curricular column.
Okay, so cross-curricular column, okay? Great. Other things.
We had to, we were kind of thinking it's sort of the way you want them to learn the things that you want them to pay attention to through the whole school day. So they fit across things, but it's the way you want them to, it's the things that you want them to do to think deeper about things and to be precise and, work
Okay.
well with partners. They kind of fit.
Okay. So can we call those skills?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you were seeing trends in the skills that were out, or that they were more focused around being skills themselves. Okay. Well, I was telling my colleagues that this, and I guess this is a little bit braggy, but this is one of the best activities I think that we've ever put together because it gets you so engaged in that process. And I'll be honest, that's the first time somebody's actually articulated skills out of it, even though that's what comes of it. But it's always funny from the perspective of that people get really engaged and that people will give me the eye of like, okay, so what's the catch here? Are they really all in the all category? And all the different ways people think through sorting these out and organizing these is also very creative. So I commend you for that. Well, we do have an answer key, if you will, that I will pass out. But it is not, yeah, if we could, yeah. But it is not the answer key. So what we did with this activity is we put together the processes, the practices, and the skills from each of the content areas, and this handout you're getting breaks them out for you. So you know what we pulled, so you're wondering, well, where did these skills come from? Our next few slides help clarify that. So here's the handout that you're getting. And we're going to go into each of these boxes, and you'll see college and career-ready skills. And so, like I said, that was a great catch on bringing the skill component out of it. So, what you're looking at in the English Language Arts box, those are specified anchor standards. Now, you might say, well, why are you, and I know I can say this because you guys are well-versed in Common Core, you might be saying, why these anchor standards? To be honest with you, originally at the ISD, when we created this, I had gone with the claims that are more smarter, balanced orientated, but the Michigan Department of Education actually came up with a similar activity, and so we adjusted, or I adjusted specifically, the ELA portion to what the Michigan Department of Ed identified as the key anchor standards, if you will. And so these are key anchor standards identified by the Michigan Department of Ed. Having said that, that website is currently down where I could tell you to go see their grid for obvious reasons, and that's being worked through. But they did have this up on that site, and that's why these specific anchor standards were there. So anchor standards from the actual Common Core state standards, so you know where those came from. The next piece here, and right now just focus on this top portion. These are the social studies disciplinary processes. If you go to your content expectation PDF file, or if you do have it printed out, and you flip and you go through the first 5 to 10 pages, these processes are very clearly labeled as what were guiding components used to develop the content expectations. So if you go back to that document again, and right now we race to page whatever it is where our 3 through 8 standards are, and we read or K through 8 standards are, and we read the standards. But if you go up a few pages from where kindergarten starts, it articulates that they took these disciplinary processes and put them into consideration as they generated those more specific content expectations. I did mention to you that social studies is on the horizon. That being said, those standards, and you can put it out of your mind as quickly as I put it in there, but just so you're aware, there is this College, Career, and Civic Life. It is posted on the National Council of Social Studies website, so it is out there, but it's going to be a while before Michigan gets there. But so you're aware, I just wanted to put this in the PowerPoint. My key here is that if you actually read 1, 2, 3, and 4 somewhat closely, and we're not going to really get into it, but it lines up very similarly to the disciplinary processes. So I just wanted to incorporate that. So the next piece, I'll turn it over to math.
So the other column on your list, or on the quadrant there, are the mathematical practices. So these were released alongside of the standards, and just like someone articulated pretty well from that table about, these are I call them like the habits of mind that we want all kids to have in the area of mathematics. So if you were actually to pull up this full document where it fleshes out each of the mathematical practices, it will give you an early elementary example, upper elementary, middle, and high school example of what this might look like in our classrooms. And I find it's always very interesting when we do this activity. Like Mark said, we've done this activity with a lot of districts across the county. In fact, probably the most poignant memory that I have is the group that decided, I was kind of picking on the group in the back who decided they didn't want to put them in columns, they wanted to put them in one great big long line, was this other group that we worked with in Comstock Park decided that they wanted to put them all in a circle. And so we watched this group try to put these in circles. But for me, what's very interesting is right, like I go around and I talk about math, and no one wants to talk about math. Everybody wants to talk about kumbaya, ELA, garbage, whatever. And and then they'll just say, well, Allison, math is different. And I bet that each and every one of you put one of those mathematical practices not in a math category. Whether you put it in an all-encompassing category or you accidentally let it slip into a science, social studies, or ELA category, because there is crossover between these content areas about what we want kids to be able to do in each content area, not just, well, in math, kids look differently than they do in social studies or science or ELA, and that's just not the case. So that's just kind of an interesting thing for me. But anyway, these are... obviously, there's very mathy ones up there, but these are the habits of mind that Common Core says all kids should be doing in all classrooms, K through 12. And I'm going to turn it over to Jen.
And many of you did put the science practices in a science theme, but I did notice when I walked around that many of you had some of the science practices in, it seemed like, a language arts category. And especially at the elementary level, it is very important, as you know, that for your time's sake that you are, I know that many of you are incorporating science in your language arts and your mathematics. So with the new Next Generation Science Standards, I'm not sure how many of you have seen the new Next Generation Science Standards. Well, if you haven't yet and you haven't heard anything about them, you can go to Next Gen Science, and it's gen with a G.org, and you can download the standards. But the mathematical practices are very similar to the new science practices in that they're skills they want kids to do with science. So really we're looking at what are the kids doing with it, more acting like scientists instead of just remembering content. So these are the 8 scientific and engineering practices. And engineering is now incorporated, which is another new thing for us. And if you're looking for a document that's similar to mathematics, where you want to see what it might look like in a lower L or upper L, you can go to that website, and Appendix F has a breakdown of what it would look like. Especially, what does it look like for a student to develop and use a model in science in kindergarten? So they give some more explanation about what that would look like in the classroom.
All right, thank you. Okay, so now we've kind of set that frame, so these aren't things we're just making up. And as we mentioned, you've got the College and Career Ready skill grid. So what I want you to do now is take a second. Where are some areas of overlap between the practices, processes, and the anchor standards? So you already were kind of making those, but now we've given you the grid. All of the little flashcards are all put into one space. Take a couple minutes, and I'll kind of walk around and see, but take a couple minutes and see where you see areas of overlap. What is it? What connections are you making? And you can see how this is a critical exercise, especially for elementary. Okay? So take a few minutes, jump into that, and then we will have you share out what's happening in conversations. We'll have each table kind of share something out. Okay? All right, go ahead.